Everything is canon. You heard that right. According to Ian Flynn on his podcast, The Bumblecast, he was asked if certain characters being mentioned in Sonic Frontiers that are not necessarily present in mainline Sonic media, like the ones in the IDW comics specifically, are now canon, as long as they do not interfere with already established game lore. So I guess that means the movies aren't entirely canon unless there's something I missed in Sonic Origins, since I skipped out on that game because the movies really diverge from pre-established Sonic lore in the first 3 games. This has huge implications for the series. Iizuka, the head of Sonic Team, wants to make everything to do with Sonic more unified now thanks to the success of the movies, and to just make the game lore of the past decade less convoluted. There's a bunch of references to previous games in Sonic Frontiers, which really drives that point home, especially considering the dialogue about a certain character who made characters like Tails seem as though he was a shell of his former self. This makes the Metal Virus saga canon, and if you read the IDW comic, you know how crazy it kept getting with older villains actually being a threat instead of a means to an end to meet a plot point that hadn't been touched on, like in the mainline games of the past decade before Frontiers and after Generations. This might also mean the future multimedia projects that do not interfere with Sonic lore are canon, so Sonic Prime could be canon or maybe not. We won't know until it gets dropped on Netflix, but as far as the uncertainty surrounding the IDW comics, canonical continuity to the games, it's canon now, which is honestly surprising considering how they didn't want to do that with Archie comics, but that's probably because it got so deep into being its own thing, and the lawsuits that happened over it that Sega didn't do anything about until it was too late. This new development has made me really excited to see what Sonic stories are coming next, because if it's anything like Frontiers or better, then the fans are in for something amazing the next game. Without spoiling anything, this story is better than I thought a Sonic story could ever be, representing Sonic finally looking forward instead of only nostalgia-baiting fans into buying their game for once. This game fixed so many problems with modern Sonic stories that it isn't even funny how well it was executed compared to the previous game's lackluster story that I was looking forward to when people kept hyping it up when it was going to release. Just kind of wish Ian Flynn was the writer of that game now because of how good the story in this game was. He wrote the prologue that I didn't know existed until 5 years after the game came out at least. Regardless of how poorly I think the previous game was in terms of writing, it still happened, and this game acknowledges that to make it more cohesive Sonic universe, whether it is broken at times or not, which is something I can see throughout the story in this game. Maybe we'll see it in other mediums because Iizuka wants everything to be more cohesive, at least according to Ian Flynn.